game. So, isa sa may pinaka magandang application ng projectile is the game Angry Birds. Okay? So, dito natin, hindi natin alam na yung itong Angry Birds pala, ina-apply pala natin dito yung alam natin sa projectile. Okay? So, anong mga parts ng or anong mga techniques or strategies from Angry Birds ang nakapag-apply ng concepts of projectile? Okay, very good. Yung pagpapalit ng angle upon releasing from the slingshot. So, di ba, bago pa tayo makapag-release ng bird dun sa slingshot, tinitingnan muna natin kung mataas ba or mababa or mataas, baliktad na to. Yung angle nung bago natin i-release si bird. Bilis. So, paano natin mako-consider yung, or paano natin ma-adjust yung bilis nung pagtama nung bird dun sa defense na ginawa ng mga pigs. Okay, so yung paghila natin, okay, kung gaano pa natin kahaba, hihilahin yung string or yung elastic band doon sa slingshot. Pero yung pressure or yung force from the elastic band, ibang concepts pa yon, ha. Pero ngayon, parang if you apply force kasi doon sa string band or doon sa elastic band, mag-create siya ng higher velocity, ng higher acceleration. So, pag nag-increase yung velocity at nag-increase yung acceleration ni object or mas mabilis siya, feeling natin mas mabilis siya, mas malaki yung pagtama niya doon sa defense na ginawa ng pig. Okay? So, hindi lang po na-apply ang projectile kay Angry Birds na game. So, nakikita din natin siya on a daily basis of our life. So, for example, this is an athlete, okay? He is a snowboarder descending from a slope. Okay, so makikita natin dito upon reaching his goal from the ramp, okay? So makikita natin meron siyang curved path or parabolic path. So he is under a projectile motion. Okay? The next is this one. The motion of a rider performing a bike stand. So, nanggaling ulit siya sa ramp. Okay? So, may motion na ginawa si bike rider or si rider. And then, hanggang ma-reach niya yung goal niya kung saan makakapag-land siya ng safe. Okay? So, ang mga ano dito, inisip niya yung bilis. Dapat initial speed niya before reaching this ramp, the consistency of the speed up to his final or end point. And then next, this one, hindi lang po sa athletics, pati rin sa mga art, okay? Or sa mga visually pleasing na areas na apply din si parabola. Okay, for example, paano naging visually pleasing itong part na ito? Okay, so or the motion of water jets coming out from the nozzles. Okay, so kinalculate po dito yung angle, yan. Okay, yung angle ng nozzles. Okay, kailangan pare-pareho yung angle ng nozzles para pare-pareho din yung maging itsura or maging shape ng water jets. Okay, as well as the speed of how the water comes out from the nozzles. Okay? So, since alam din natin na ang projectile na-apply din yan on a daily basis, okay? So, what is, or let us define what projectile is. Okay? Projectile or projectile motion is a motion in which an object is thrown near the surface of the earth, okay, or the earth's surface, and it moves along a curved path under the action of gravity only. Okay? So, meron tayong mga key terms dito. The earth's surface, curved path, and gravity only. Okay? Mapakonsider lang natin na projectile motion, yung motion ng isang object kapag ka po siya ay tinapon natin malapit sa Earth's surface or hinulog natin malapit sa Earth's surface, nag-move sa isang curved path at saka ang nag-act upon lang sa kanya ay gravity. Okay, ma'am, bakit gravity only? Because we have assumption in projectile motion. Okay, so kapag isinama natin tong some other factors, hindi na natin makakonsider yon as projectile motion. So meron tayong mga assumption in knowing how to consider an object under projectile motion. First, the effect of air resistance is negligible. Oh, just like a free fall, air resistance is not considered in projectile motion. So, gaano man kalakas yung pressure ng air or gaano man kababa or kataas yung air resistance ng object, negligible po siya sa pagko-compute ng projectile motion. Okay. Second, may flat earther ba dito? Ayan. Sana wala. Okay. So, we have, the earth is, consists of curves or curved, meron tayong curved earth. Okay. So, yung effect ng hindi pantay-pantay na surface area or hindi pantay-pantay na surface ng Earth is negligible din dito kay projectile motion. So, yung curvature of the Earth is not considered as part ng projectile motion. So, thinking lagi natin sa projectile motion, pantay. Okay? Pantay yung surface ng object natin. Okay? Next is, third assumption is the effect due to the rotation of gravity, or sorry, the rotation of the Earth is also negligible. Okay? Kasi scientifically, the Earth is rotating for about every second. So, meron siyang minimal na rotation sa every second. So, sa relative velocity, matuturo ko mimit nyo rin tong rotation of the Earth. Kasi, pag nagtapon ka ng isang bagay, hindi mo alam kung dun sa specific na point pa rin siya tatama. Okay? So, kasi gumagalaw yung Earth. So, dito, yung paggalaw ng Earth or pag-rotate ng Earth, hindi natin siya i-consider kay projectile motion. Ang i-consider lang natin kay projectile motion is the acceleration due to gravity. Okay? So, the acceleration due to gravity, which is denoted by small letter g, and the value is negative 9.81 meters per second squared. Okay? So, yan. Ngayon naman, sa next part ng ating lesson, let's focus naman kung ano yung mga key factors. So, nabanggit natin siya kanina. The path, the parabolic path, the angle, the velocity, the speed, and whatsoever. So, ngayon naman, palawakin natin, i-broaden natin, i-define natin, paano po ba or bakit po ba kasama siya sa mga factors in considering a motion or an object under projectile motion. Okay, so what are those? First, we have the point of projection. Okay, ano po ba si point of projection? Point of projection is the point from which the object is projected in the air. Okay, so ito po yung point of projection natin. Yung point of projection, ito po yung starting position ng ating object. Kadalasan si point of projection nasa x-axis. Okay? So, yan. So, yung point of projection, siya po yung origin of our projectile motion. Okay? So, kadalasan, kay projectile motion, kung nag-start siya at specific position, yun yung value ng point of projection. Okay? Next is the velocity of projection. Okay? So, The velocity of projection is the velocity with which an object is projected in the air. Okay? So yung velocity daw of projection, ito yung speed with magnitude, or sorry, with direction of our object. Okay? So, sabi natin, ang speed daw or ang velocity is equals to the distance over time. Dito, kay velocity of projection, kay projectile, hindi lang po siya basta ganito. Hindi lang po siya basta velocity is equals to distance over time. Why? Bakit kaya hindi lang siya basta velocity over distance? Velocity is equals to distance over time. So, nabanggit natin kanina na si projectile ay consist of both x and y component. And velocity is a vector quantity. So, hindi natin pwedeng i-consider na ang velocity of projection under the projectile motion is just this equation. Bakit? Kasi meron po tayong kino-consider na velocity on the x component and velocity on the y component. Okay, so paano natin malalaman yung value ng Vx at saka Vy? Okay? So since it is a vector quantity, okay, so paano po ba natin nako-compute yung component under the x component or the value of under the x component? So, ginagamit po natin yung equation na V cosine theta. Okay? So, yung V dito, this one, ito po yun. Yan. And yung Vy naman is V sine theta. Okay? So, kaya mas mahalagang meron kayong magandang foundation kay vector. Okay? So, pag kinuha naman natin yung resultant na to, V is equal to the square root of Vx squared plus Vy squared. Okay? So, this V or the velocity of projection is the resultant value of both Vx or velocity on the x and y component. Okay? So, any questions? Clarifications? Yan. So, hindi lang basta titigil dito yung velocity of projection. So, alam na natin all throughout, dito ko na lang ilalagay. Control Z. And all throughout the parabolic path, magka-create siya ng x and y component. Yan. Pero ano yung magiging value ng x and y components? Ano yung supposedly value ng x and y component? Let's bring back this simulation. Yan. Balik tayo dito sa simulation natin sa FET. Okay? So, i-check ko tong velocity vectors. Yan. Check ko yung velocity vectors. So, pag check ko siya, makakakita kayo ng lines. Yan. Okay? So, makakita kayo ng lines. Let's take it slower. Yan. So, let's pause this one. So, dito sa lines na to, ito yung dinadiscuss ko kanina. This is the x, Vx, and this is the Vy. Okay? Tapos, itong malaking line na to, this is the resultant vector V. Okay? So, makikita natin, yan. Yan. So, makikita natin, mga kapatid, na all throughout, from the starting point hanggang dito sa end point, nagkakaroon ng mga values si Vx at saka si Vy. Okay? So, anong mapapansin nyo? Teka lang. Team tayo ng madami. Teka lang, habaan natin yung... Yan. So, anong mapapansin nyo dyan, mga kapatid? Sa value ng Vx at saka sa value ng Vy. Anong evident dito sa diagram na to? Anyone? Anong evident dyan? Sa projectile motion, okay? So, yung supposed value natin, so para hindi na kayo mahirapan, yung supposed value natin based from our simulation, Vx is constant. Okay? So, why Vx is constant? Tingnan nyo ulit dito sa ating diagram. Makikita natin yung length ng arrow, yan. Yung length ng arrow is pantay-pantay. Okay? So, ano po ba yung nire-represent ng length ng arrow? Yung haba ng arrow, ayon sa ating vector lecture, yung haba ng arrow represents the magnitude of our vector. So, ibig sabihin, kung magkakasing haba yung arrow na yon, yung value nung vector na yon is pare-pareho. As well as they both go on the same direction, okay, which is towards the right. Okay, so kung di-differentiate naman natin siya sa Vy, makikita nyo yung value nung, or yung haba nung arrow is palaki ng palaki. Okay, so palaki siya ng palaki, ibig sabihin, or pahaba siya ng pahaba, ibig sabihin, nag-i-increase yung value ni ni Vy. So, Vy, the value is Vy, is changing. Bakit, ma'am? Constant Cx, bakit changing si y? Because y is affected by the gravity. Okay? Kasi yung Vy natin, or yung velocity natin across the y-axis is affected by the acceleration due to gravity. Kasi acceleration due to gravity is on the y-axis, or it is a downward force created or formed by gravity. Okay? Kaya si Vy, nagbabago. Si Vx, it is constant. So, starting from the initial x velocity or initial x velocity at the point of projection all throughout hanggang ma-reach na yung endpoint, Vx or Vox is equals to Vx. Okay? So, si Vy, it is changing. It is increasing or decreasing depending upon on what position you have or what instantaneous position you are taking the value. Okay? Any questions regarding this? So, tatandaan, pagkuha ng Vx is V cosine theta. Pagkuha ng Vy is V sine theta. Vx is constant all throughout the path taken by the object. Vy is changing depending on the position ng object dun sa path. Okay? So, any questions? Yan. So, if not, let's move on to the next concept. So, nabanggit na natin siya kanina, itong angle. Or ano po ba siya? Ano po ba yung angle? Okay? Or yung theta. So, the angle of projection. So, the angle of projection is the angle with the horizontal at which an object is projected. Okay? So, this part, yan, yung may theta na part, yan po yung tinatawag nating angle of projection. So, kadalasan, lagi naman, si angle of projection is along the x-axis. So, parang mahirap naman gumawa ng projectile motion pagka ang angle mo ay naka-align sa y-axis. So, kadalasan si angle laging reference or angle of projection is always reference to the x-axis. Okay? So much for that. Next is ito. Ito na yung tinatawag nating parabolic path. Okay? So the parabolic path followed by a projectile in air is what we call the trajectory. Okay? So the trajectory, ito yung curved path na tinahak ng ating object. Okay? So, we have different types of trajectory. So, pwedeng ang trajectory mo, pag ganito, or pwedeng ang trajectory mo ay paganyan. Okay, so parang free fall. So we have uh, three types of trajectory. Okay, this one, yan, tumaas muna siya, bumaba, hindi pantay yung level ng endpoint, or bigla na lang siyang bumaba. Dito sa B, parang free fall. Okay? And then last C, or last type is the type C. Okay? So, yung half circle naman. So, dito sa type ng trajectory, dito magbe-base yung mga type of equations na gagamitin natin. Okay? Na to be discussed on our next class. Okay? So, tandaan natin, or isang key point is yung pag-alam kung anong klaseng trajectory or ano yung parabolic path na tinake ni object. Okay? So, para malaman natin kung ano yung tamang equation na gagamitin natin. Okay? So much for that. Next, we have the time of flight. Okay? So, yung time of flight is the time taken by the projectile to cover the entire trajectory. Okay? So, yung time of flight is kapag nasa air. Okay? Kapag nasa air si object. Okay? For example, we have this, our point A. This is our point B. Okay? So, sinipa mo daw dito si football from point A, papunta siya sa point B. Tapos, hindi siya, parang, ano bang tawag doon? Hindi siya, parang hindi na-keep yung momentum, or parang hindi siya basta tumigil dito sa point B. Gumulong pa siya hanggang dito sa point C. Okay? So, alin lang dyan yung i-consider natin as time of flight? So, hanggang B lang. Bakit hindi natin i-consider yung B to C or A to C? Kasi, the object is not in the air, or wala na siya sa air. Kaya nga po siya tinawag na flight. Nasa air siya. Kapag dito, it is just the time. So, para pagkuha ng total time sa ganitong klase ng situation, kukunin muna natin si time A to B plus time B to C. Para makuha natin si time A to C. Okay? Nagigets nyo ba? So, iba yung A to B tsaka B to C because this one is the time of flight. Okay? So, itong isa, this is just the normal time. Okay? Ma'am, ano pong pinagkaiba niya? Okay, yung time of flight sa computation, makikita nyo yan. Yung time of flight is considered, parang kino-consider niya itong angle. Okay, kasi dito, wala na tayong i-consider na angle since it is on the horizontal plane. Yan. Okay? So, next is the maximum height of the projectile. Okay? So, this is the maximum height of the projectile, this big letter H. Okay? It tells us the maximum vertical distance. Okay? Take note. Maximum vertical distance traveled by the projectile from the ground level. Okay? Yung maximum height, lagi po siyang nasa peak. Okay? So, question, ma'am, ito po ba ay mako-consider natin as maximum height? This one. Very good. So, this is also considered as height, pero hindi siya natin mako-consider as maximum height because ang maximum height natin, lagi po siyang peak nung ating path. Okay? So, kasi sa maximum height, meron tayong mga kino-consider like the velocity, yan, sa X and Y. Okay, mamaya, sa analysis of projectile, malalaman natin, ma'am, bakit po mahalagang i-point out yung maximum height ng isang projectile motion. Okay? Very good. And then last, ito na yung last, is the horizontal range of projectile. So, this is the counterpart of the maximum height. Okay? So, kung si maximum height sa vertical axis, si horizontal range came from its name. Ito ay horizontal distance traveled by the projectile. Okay? So, ito naman yung distance or displacement. Ayan. Naghang. displacement on the x-axis. Okay? So, yan. Yung, it is denoted by a big letter R. Pag minsan X, okay, wag kayong malilito. Pwedeng si R, X po siya, tapos si H ay Y. Yan. Pero pareho lang siya. So, ginamit lang siyang Y at X para malaman na yung R ay nasa X-axis at saka yung H ay nasa Y-axis. Okay? So, let's recall yan. Recall tayo mga kapatid. Ano pong tawag dito sa part na to? Very good. So, this is the point of projection. Okay? How about this one? Very good. Angle of projection. Next, this one. Itong part na to, yung may box. The velocity of projection. How about this green broken lines? Anong tawag natin dito? And very good. So this is the trajectory. And then how about this one? The H. Good. Maximum height. And then last, horizontal range. So ito yung mga dapat nating tandaan kay projectile motion. Kasi pag alam natin kung ano yung mga ibig sabihin ng part na yun ng projectile, mas madali po natin siyang mako-compute. Okay? Next, we analyze. Okay? Let's analyze an object or an object, yes, on a projectile motion. So this is a motion diagram of a kick football. So let's see, frame by frame, what would be the motion of our object. Okay? So, let's start with frame 1. The object is at the point of projection. So, makikita natin dyan, meron siyang, yung velocity natin has x and y component. Okay? So, yan. So, kung titingnan natin siya individually, makikita mo ito yung value ni Vy, ito yung value ni Vx. Okay? Next, let's move on to frame 2. Ayan, makikita naman natin, meron siyang both x and y, pero kung titingnan mo, babalikan mo yung first, Vix, tapos, Viy pala to, tapos yung Vix, yan. Kung babalikan mo siya dito, makikita mo yung difference niya, yan, from here to here, yan. So, makita natin lumiit siya. Next, this one, the object is at a peak, okay? So, makikita natin sa object, nakikita natin na yung object ay nasa peak, isa lang yung ano niya, isa lang yung component niya. So, ibig sabihin, at the peak, Vy is equals to 0. So, makita natin wala siyang arrow, wala siyang magnitude, it is equals to 0. So, yung V2x natin, the same as dun sa nauna natin, V1x is equals to V2x. Okay? Next, last, frame number 5. Okay, the object is at the endpoint. So, makikita natin dito, it is the negative of Vix. Okay? VFX. VFX or is equal to dun sa nauna na V2x. So, pag tingnan natin siya on a whole diagram. Okay? So, alam natin na gravity lang yung nag-aaktapan sa kanya, which is 9.8 meters per second squared. So, tingnan natin. Let's start with Let's start with Vx. Okay? Makikita nyo dun sa line ng Vx, pare-pareho lang yung magnitude niya. So, if ever we have Vox or V0x, initial velocity na 15 meters per second, okay? So, all throughout, hanggang Vfx is equals to 15 meters per second squared. Because Vx is constant. Okay? So, nakikita naman natin dito, yung y, yan. Nakita niyo yung y, yung length ng y arrow, it is decreasing. Okay? So, VIY and then V1Y. So, it is decreasing kapag ka pataas. Okay? So, kapag pataas yung object natin, Vy is decreasing. Okay? Next naman, kapag nasa peak, okay, Vy is 0 when it is at the peak. Okay? Vy is increasing, makikita natin ito y, tapos dito y, is increasing kapag pababa. Okay? Yung value is increasing kapag pababa. Pero, ano lang dito, anong pinagkaiba nito dito? This is, okay. So, for example, itong V1Y, katapat siya ng V3Y. So, makikita natin, same value. Same value ni V1Y at saka V3Y. Pero, it is in the opposite direction. Okay? Bakit opposite direction pero increasing yung value? Dahil pababa na po siya. Okay? So, sabi natin lahat ng pababa ay negative. Kasi towards the negative part of our Cartesian plane. Okay? So, yun. Hanggang katulad din nito, si VFY. VFY has the same magnitude kay VIY. Pero, it is on the opposite direction. Okay? Any questions, mga kapatid? Any clarifications regarding this one?